Have you ever wondered why some movie characters stick with you long after the credits roll, while others fade faster than a bad sequel? It's all about that juicy character arc, baby. The transformation that turns a flawed nobody into a legend, or sometimes a complete and total monster.
You suck, you jackass!
Howdy, thanks for clicking on this video to see what this jackass has to say. I appreciate you. Alrighty, so here's what we're doing today. We're finna look at some character arcs. You know, those moments in movies where someone becomes a completely different person, but somehow it feels totally natural. Like, you don't even notice it happening until suddenly you're crying over a character you couldn't stand 20 minutes ago.
What up, bitch?
In this particular video, I've got 10 examples that I absolutely love, and I'm sure some of you do too. Some of these picks are pretty damn obvious, you know, the ones everyone talks about, but others, well, I think it makes for interesting conversation. I will say this, we've got everything from animated movies that hit you right in the feels to crime dramas that make you question your own morals. So come take a ride with me. I'm gonna break down exactly how these writers pulled it off, like the actual techniques they used to make you care about people you had no business caring about. So yeah, if you've ever wondered why some movies stick with you for years while others you forget before you even leave the theater, this is why. It's all about the journey these characters go on.
It's not the destination so much as the journey, they say.
Ready to dive in? Alright, let's set the tone with number 10. At number 10 comes the weasel who blossoms into a bug, Vickis von der Merwe from District 9. Vickis' journey in District 9 is one for the books. Seriously. It's a masterclass in how to take a character from a zero to hero, but in the most painful and gut-wrenching way possible. At the start, Vickis is just some dude working a desk job, a bit of a suck-up and honestly pretty prejudiced against the alien prawns. He's tasked with evicting them from their homes, and he's all smiles and corporate jargon, completely oblivious to the suffering he's causing. He's not really a monster per se, but he's just the kind of everyday guy who just goes along with a cruel system without a second thought. He's relatable in a way that's kind of uncomfortable because we all know people like that. Then everything flips on its head. He gets exposed to some alien juice and starts turning into one of them. Suddenly, he's the one being hunted, experimented on, and treated like he's less than human. The very system he worked for turns on him in a heartbeat. He's forced to live in the same slums as the prawns and rely on them for help. And this is where I think the magic really happens. He goes from seeing the prawns as just bugs to actually understanding their plight. He teams up with one of them, Christopher Johnson, not because he's suddenly a great guy, but because he's desperate to turn back into a human. But along the way, he sees Christopher's intelligence, his love for his son, and his sheer will to survive. Vickis starts to care. By the end, he's a completely different person. He makes the ultimate sacrifice, giving up his last chance to be a human so that Christopher and his people can escape to their homeworld. He goes from a selfish paper pusher to a selfless hero, fighting for the very beings he once looked down on. He literally loses his humanity to find his humanity. It really is a powerful, tragic, and unforgettable transformation that sticks with you long after the credits roll. Plus, that movie's just a certified fucking banger. At number 9 is Tom Cruise playing an alternate reality version of Tom Cruise, Frank T.J. Mackey from Magnolia. So when we first meet Frank, played by Tom Cruise, he's this larger-than-life loudmouth guru for men. He runs a program called Seduce and Destroy, which is all about teaching guys how to manipulate women. On the surface, he's the king of confidence, arrogant, slick, and seemingly in total control of his world. But that's just the mask he wears. The truth is, Frank is a deeply wounded person. His whole tough guy shtick is a shield he built to hide a painful past. When he was just a teenager, his father abandoned him and his mother, leaving Frank to care for her by himself as she died of cancer. That experience filled him with a rage and pain that he never dealt with, so he directed it outwards, creating a persona built on dominating others so he would never feel helpless again. His carefully built world starts to crumble when a sharp reporter interviews him and pokes holes in his life story, making him visibly crack under the pressure. The real turning point, however, comes when he learns that his estranged father's dying and agrees to see him one last time. Standing by his father's deathbed, TJ tries to hold on to his anger, insisting he won't cry for the man who ruined his life. But he can't hold it in. All the years of repressed grief, rage, and pain finally erupt, and he breaks down completely, sobbing uncontrollably. In that raw, heartbreaking moment, the cocky TJ Mackey persona dies, and all that's left's the broken man underneath. He goes from a character who preaches emotional control to someone who finds a shred of his real self only after losing control completely. It's a stunning and unforgettable transformation from a hollow shell of a man to someone brutally and finally human. Coming in at number 8 is the first female lead in an action movie, Katniss Everdeen. Hey, I'm just the messenger. J-Law's the one who said it.
I remember when I was doing Hunger Games, nobody had ever put a woman in the lead of an action movie because it wouldn't work.
Right.
All jokes aside, this is actually a really compelling and great character arc. When we first meet Katniss, she's not trying to be a hero at all. Her world's tiny and sharp, focused on one thing, keeping her family alive. She's a hunter, a provider, and a survivor who's deeply distrustful of everyone except her little sister, Prim. Her only goal is to get through the day without starving or getting in trouble with the Capitol. She's tough, yes, but she's also closed off, driven purely by the need to protect her own. Then, in a single gut-wrenching moment, she volunteers as tribute to save Prim, and her entire world explodes. She's thrown into the Hunger Games, a televised deathmatch where she's forced to kill or be killed. But what makes her journey so powerful is that she never wanted to be a symbol of hope. She was just a girl trying to survive, but her simple acts of defiance, like honoring Rue or choosing to die with Peeta rather than kill him, spark a rebellion she never asked for. The Capitol then tries to turn her into a pawn for their entertainment, and the rebels try to mold her into their Mockingjay, their symbol of revolution. She's caught between these two massive forces, all while dealing with incredible trauma, loss, and the constant fear of losing the people she loves. She isn't a perfect hero who gives big speeches. She's a scared, angry, and broken person who's pushed into a role she never even wanted. By the end of this series, she's no longer the girl who's just trying to protect her sister. She's the person who brought down a dictatorship, but she's not celebrating. She's deeply scarred, haunted by everything she's seen and done. Her victory doesn't feel like a clean win because she's lost so much, including a part of herself. She goes from a simple survivor to a reluctant revolutionary and finally to a traumatized veteran trying to find peace. It's this messy, painful, realistic journey that makes her character so damn unforgettable, and really, the heart of the entire story. Meandering his way to number 7 is the toy who we all had a friend in, Woody from the Toy Story movies. Woody's arc across the Toy Story movies is so brilliant because it's a perfect story about growing up and learning to let go. In the beginning, Woody's entire world revolves around being Andy's favorite toy. He's the leader, the sheriff, but he's also deeply insecure and selfish. The second Buzz Lightyear appears, Woody's jealousy takes over because his whole identity's tied to being number 1. But through each film, he's forced to confront his greatest fear, being replaced and left behind. He grapples with being a collector's item in Andy growing up, and with the idea of being a lost toy. It's a constant battle against his own insecurity. I think the real magic is his final transformation. He goes from desperately clinging to his life with one kid to choosing a new purpose for himself, helping all lost toys find a home. He says goodbye to his friends and everything he's ever known. He evolves from a toy defined by a child's love to a character who defines his own happy ending. That journey from selfish attachment to selfless freedom, I think, is what makes his story a real masterpiece. At number 6 is one that's a bit off the beaten path, but belongs here nonetheless. Walter Mitty from The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I honestly think this is one of the most underrated and beautiful character arcs ever, from a movie that definitely deserves more love. Super underrated. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. So when we first meet Walter, he's basically a human screensaver. He's a quiet, shy guy working a dead-end job at Life magazine, and his only real escape is zoning out into these epic daydreams where he's a hero, a super spy, or a romantic legend. In reality, he's too scared to even click the wink button on a dating profile for his work crush. He's stuck in a life he feels is totally boring. Everything changes when a crucial photo negative for the final cover of Life magazine goes missing. To find it, Walter has to track down the wild, globe-trotting photographer who took it. This is where the magic really starts to happen. The guy who used to just dream about adventure suddenly forced to live it. He jumps out of a helicopter into the icy waters of Greenland, skateboards down a road toward an erupting volcano in Iceland, and climbs the Himalayas. He stops daydreaming because his real life becomes more incredible than anything his mind could cook up. He's no longer just imagining being brave. He is brave. By the end, Walter is a completely different person. He comes back with a quiet confidence that he earned for real. He's no longer the guy who gets pushed around. He stands up for himself and finally talks to the girl. And the best part, the missing photo he was searching for the whole time turns out to be a picture of him. Walter just doing his job. I look at it as a powerful message that his ordinary life had extraordinary value all along. His journey from a timid man who lived in his head to a man who truly lives in the world is what makes his story so inspiring. And really, it's one of the best character arcs out there. Full stop. Bringing all the attitude at number 4 is John Bender from The Breakfast Club. When we first come across Bender, he's the criminal. He's a loudmouth, a bully, and he's doing everything he can to make sure everyone in the library absolutely hates him. He's all sarcastic insults and a tough guy attitude. He's the kind of guy you want to stay away from because he just seems like bad news. But that's all a mask. His whole act is a shield to protect himself from a world that has been nothing but cruel to him. The most gut-wrenching moment is when he reveals that his own father gave him a cigar burn for spilling paint. In that second, you realize his anger isn't just random rebellion. It's a direct result of the abuse he endures at home. He acts like he doesn't care about anything because he's been taught that he's worthless. Over the course of that one Saturday, the walls he built start to crumble. He pushes everyone, yeah, but he also forces them to be real with each other for the first time. He goes from mocking Claire, the princess, to finding a real connection with her. He sees past her perfect exterior and she sees past his tough guy act. He starts the day as an island, convinced he's nothing more than a screw-up. He walks across that football field at the end not as a changed person, but as someone who's finally found a moment of acceptance. His journey from a bitter outcast to someone who allows himself to be vulnerable, even if it's just for a second, is what makes his character arc so incredibly deep and unforgettable. Coming in at number 4 would probably take issue with J-Law's interesting take, Ellen Ripley from the Alien movies. Alright, let's talk about the GOAT of character arcs, Ellen Ripley from the Alien movies, and up front, I think the first 2 films are absolute masterpieces. So when we meet Ripley, she's not a hero, she's just a regular person doing her job, a warrant officer on a space freighter who cares about following the rules. She's smart and capable, but she's not looking for a fight. She's the one saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't let that weird space monster onto our ship. But nobody listens. She survives not because she's a super soldier, but because she's resourceful and refuses to give up. Then comes Aliens, and this is where her transformation becomes legendary. After drifting through space for 57 years, she finds out her daughter grew old and died. She's lost everything and is haunted by trauma. When she's asked to go back to face the aliens, she doesn't do it for money or glory. She does it to face her demons. What makes her arc so incredible, I think, is that she finds a new purpose. She goes from a lone survivor to a fierce mother figure, willing to walk into the heart of the hive just to save a little girl, Newt. She's not fighting for her own life anymore, she's fighting for someone else's. Ripley's journey from a by-the-book employee to a warrior mom who tells the alien queen,
"Get away from her, you bitch!"
is one of the most earned and powerful transformations in film history. She starts as a survivor and becomes a savior, and that's what makes her an absolute icon. Blasting his way to the 3rd spot might be an obvious choice, but I'm sticking by it. Tony Stark. Bro has some serious character development and is the heart of the entire first 3 phases of the Infinity Saga. When we're first introduced to Tony in Iron Man, he's a genius, billionaire, and a playboy, but he's also incredibly selfish. He's a weapons dealer who lives in a bubble of parties and fast cars, completely blind to the death and destruction his company causes. He's charming, sure, but he doesn't really care about anyone but himself. That all changes when he's captured and forced to see firsthand where his weapons end up. In that cave, he builds the first Iron Man suit not to be a hero, but just to survive. That single event sets him on a completely new path. He goes home and shuts down his weapons division, famously declaring,
I am Iron Man.
For the next 10 years, he's haunted by his past and driven by a deep-seated fear of what's coming. He tries to be a better man, but like most heroes, he messes up. A lot. He learns to work with a team in the Avengers, deals with crippling anxiety, and even creates one of the Avengers' biggest enemies, Ultron. All because he's desperate to protect the world. He's constantly wrestling with his own ego and the massive responsibility he feels. This leads to his final perfect moment in Endgame. The man who started out only caring about himself makes the ultimate sacrifice. He gives his life to save everyone, and his last words, I am Iron Man, bring the entire journey full circle. It's no longer a boast, it's a statement of who he became. His arc is about a man who had everything, learning that the greatest purpose was to give it all away. It's a powerful, decade-long story of redemption that's just one for the ages. At number 2 might not be a movie character, but it's too good not to include. A guy who is the one who knocks, Walter White from the brilliant Breaking Bad. Look, this cat's journey in Breaking Bad isn't just one of the best in TV, it's one of the best, period. It's a masterclass in how to turn a good man into an absolute monster. When we first meet Walt, he's a total pushover. He's a high school chemistry teacher who's brilliant but broke. A guy who gets walked all over by his students, his boss, and even his own family. He's invisible, and after he gets diagnosed with terminal cancer, he decides to cook meth, telling himself it's all for his family. He's Mr. Chips trying to become Scarface. But that's the big lie he tells himself. The cancer didn't turn him into a monster, it just gave him the excuse to finally let the monster out. As he gets deeper into the drug world, he starts to really like it. He's not just surviving, he's thriving on the power and the fear he creates as Heisenberg. He discovers he's not just good at being bad, he's the best. He goes from a guy who was scared of everything to the one who says,
I am the one who knocks.
He loses his family, his soul, and everything he claimed to be fighting for, all because he got addicted to the power he never had. The final perfect moment is when he finally admits the truth to his wife, Skylar.
That you did this for the family.
I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it.
He had no choice and ended as a man who finally admitted he was making the choices he always wanted to. It's a tragic, brilliant, and unforgettable transformation from victim into complete villain. And finally, in the top spot is one that has been studied ad nauseum for years, Michael Corleone from the Godfather trilogy. I mean, are you really going to argue this? Michael has one of the most epic character arcs in all of movies. It's the ultimate story of a good man's fall from grace. When we're first introduced to Michael, he's the odd one out in his family. He's a decorated war hero who just got back from serving his country. He shows up to his sister's wedding in his uniform, telling his girlfriend, Kate,
That's my family, Kate. It's not me.
he wants nothing to do with the crime, the violence, or the family business. He's the clean one, the one who was supposed to get out and be a senator or something legitimate. But everything changes when his father Vito's nearly killed. Michael isn't dragged into the life, he chooses it. He steps up to protect his father, then makes the cold-blooded decision to kill the men responsible. That's the moment the old Michael dies. He thinks he can control it, that he can be a different kind of Don, but he gets sucked in deeper and deeper. By The Godfather Part 2, he's completely transformed. He's no longer the reluctant son. He's a cold, calculating, and ruthless leader. Even more so than his father. He's constantly trying to protect his family, but in doing so, he pushes them all away and destroys every relationship he has. The breaking point is when he has his own brother, Fredo, killed. At that moment, he wins the war for power, but loses his soul completely. And this is why I think part 3 is so important, even if people shit all over it. It shows us an old, tired, and deeply regretful Michael. He spends the whole movie trying to wash the blood off his hands to make his family legitimate and to find some kind of redemption, but his past sins just won't let him go. The famous line,
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
sums it all up. His final punishment isn't death, but life. He has to live with the consequences of his choices, which culminates in watching his daughter die in his arms, a death meant for him. He started as a man who wanted to escape his family's destiny, only to become its most tragic victim, dying, old, broken, and completely alone. It's a powerful and heartbreaking journey from a war hero to a lonely king with a kingdom of ghosts. So what do all these incredible characters have in common? A lost toy, a high school criminal, a dying chemistry teacher, and the most powerful mob boss in America. It's that their stories show us that people aren't set in stone. The best character arcs aren't just about a good guy becoming a hero or a bad guy getting what he deserves. They're about change, real, messy, and sometimes painful change. We watch these characters because we see a little bit of ourselves in them. We see Woody's fear of being forgotten, Bender's pain from being misunderstood, or Walter Mitty's dream of being someone more. These stories grab us because they show someone at their absolute lowest and then force them to become someone new, whether that's for the better like Tony Stark or for the worse like Michael Corleone. These journeys are so important because they remind us that one decision, one moment can change everything. They show us that even the most ordinary person can become a hero, and the most powerful person can lose it all. It's not about the beginning or the end, it's about the person they become along the way. But that's just my take. Now I want to hear from you. What's a character arc that's blown your mind? Who's a character that you think has one of the best journeys ever put on screen? Drop a comment below and let me know. Let's talk about it. As always, the opinions in this video are mine and mine alone, but what do I know? I'm but a mere jackass. I'll try to do better next time. Catch you later, friends.
That talks too much. I'm just a jackass of all trades.